Welcome to the Real News Network. I'm Eddie Conway, coming to you from Baltimore. Parents often tell their kids not to speak when someone is talking to you. Too often, children's voices are silenced and dismissed by adults, society at large, and teachers in particular, which is why educator Valencia Clay and author D. Watkins created a new show called Kids Who Know Everything. The show gives youth a chance to voice their opinion on serious issues related to race, crime, and poverty. The pilot episode was filmed at Red Emma's bookstore. The following are some of the highlights in which the children demystify corporate media's overrepresentation of black people and the inner city as society's #1 problem. The children not only challenge the idea of black-on-black crime, but they also look at the widespread neglect of government to adequately address any of the problems facing their community.
What's really important about tonight is that it's not about Ms. Clay. It's not about the infamous author, Mr. D. Watkins. What this is about is taking Baltimore City kids on the road so that the world, that the nation, that everyone can hear our kids' voices.
Tonight's topic is Don't Save Us. When we were curating the show, D. Watkins and I were trying to figure out what would be the best thing to start out with. And so we were thinking, well, what do we need? And we just kept coming back to, do we really need something? Which is what brought us to Don't Save Us. And so you'll see how that plays out tonight.
I feel numb, constantly surrounded by death. But I'm so used to it, it doesn't have an effect. I was stressed, but now I could really care less. Because I know that all my people are seen as a threat. It's a mess. And honestly, it got me scared for my life. I know if I try to fight, they'll kill me on sight. It ain't right. Because every night I got to pray to Christ that one day this darkness will turn into light. Until that day come, pick up the pen and I write. And just hope a Batman comes to save our dark nights. Feel like I never win because of the skin that I'm in. The chances are slim for me and all of my kin. These cops got no hearts like their bodies made of tin. Children's lives are destroyed before they ever begin. Man, these cops like Denzel when he on training day. Cause they run this and we just here to stay. And King Kong don't got nothing on the monsters I see. Cause even when we plead and drop down to our knees, they look us in the eyes and pull the trigger with ease. Well, when I hear the phrase inherently violent, the word that always comes first in my mind has to be a cycle. Because I believe that people aren't born violent, people aren't born with violent tendencies. It's something that is learned from either their parents, a relative, someone in their ancestry, or just the community that they're placed in as a child. And I say it's a cycle because a lot of people who are violent now or have these violent tendencies from an early age were raised by people that were like raised by this violence or were violent themselves, and it was just kind of passed on.
So, panel or Scott, would you say that the majority of people of color are inherently violent?
I say no, because all of us aren't violent. If you take a chance to, just because of our color and how we are and us blacks, we do bad things, that don't mean we are violent. Some of us are not violent, and some of us take the time to do things that help others. And before we could do that, they'll think, oh, they're black, they're violent.
So why would you say there is so much violence in our community?
The media is making people believe that only one race is acting a certain way. So since that one race is going to start believing it, they're going to do the same thing because they're used to it.
This isn't as bad as the city as the media makes it out to be, as the news makes it out to be when we put on CNN, when we quote-unquote rioting. Even though they don't show what's been done to us prior to the riots, they only show the climax of what happened after we couldn't take anymore. So it was just, there's nothing wrong with staying in this city. There's nothing wrong with trying to raise a family here. It's just something wrong with having to fear for the lives of your loved ones consistently in the place that you consider to be home.
I love it. I like those snaps. Can we snap that?
And there's certain points in some parts of Baltimore that we can make better. So instead of trying to escape it, how about we improve our city instead of trying to let others demean it?
So let's switch to the topic a little bit. I want to know, how would we define poverty in Baltimore? What is the current state of poverty? How does it look?
And like people that's living in like shelters and everything that needed money, but they couldn't get it because they either got fired from their job or didn't have a job in the first place.
Poverty isn't just homeless. You could have a home, but you could just be struggling to keep it. You could be struggling to keep your kids clothed, keep your kids fed. It's very different versions of poverty, and homeless isn't just the only one.
You can have a home and you still can be struggling. So I think poverty to me looks like unemployment.
Does poverty link to crime? Like, is that why we have such a high crime rate? Who can tell me currently what is the death rate in just the last week? How many people who can tell me?
It has been 11 homicides in 1 week.
And what about in the last 30 days?
The last 30 days has been 30 homicides.
33 homicides in the last 30 days. Who can tell me in the last 90 days how many homicides we've had in our city?
94.
94. And what about to date, in the last 9 months? Because this is September, almost October. Anaja?
264.
It's not just people steal when like they're in the middle of poverty. It's just that, like, for an example, it could be just selling drugs. Selling drugs is a major issue in like Baltimore. So a lot of people do that because they are in poverty and they're suffering from redlining, and they just want to make it out for their families.
You brought up redlining. My question is, because in the video she said redlining lasted for 30 years and it ended in 1968, right? Did it really end?
No, it did not.
How do you know that it didn't end?
Because, like, as you can see, like, there's still a lot of abandoned households and a lot of African Americans in those households, and they're just pushing us in there. So, because the government is just messed up, like.
Actually, on my way here, I noticed that as I walked, there were a lot of abandoned houses, and as soon as I turned the corner, it seemed like the houses started to get bigger, and the houses started to look richer. More statues were out. People had bigger cars, better cars, and I just was like, is it really over? Do they really want us to be separated because of the color of our skin or how much money we have?
So I want us to think about mindset, because in my class, I don't teach. And they can tell you this. I give them the information. I facilitate. They do all of the heavy lifting. The only time I speak is when I have to debunk a misconception. So this week, we were thinking a lot about mindset. And one of the students said, we can stop crime if we start to make sure that we end black-on-black crime, which is how this all came to light, right? And so it made me change my entire lesson to make them think about language of the oppressor. I want them to now explain to you, and whoever wants to jump on this can, why is it that only people of color, when they do crimes, it's black-on-black crime, but any other race, quote-unquote race, because we know there's really only one race, but any other race doesn't have a white-on-white crime or any other type crime? Why is it only that people of color are labeled with black-on-black crime?
The government wants people to think that black people have the most crime when they really don't. White people kill their own race also, not just black people.
So why or how do they make you believe that? And why would they want to make people believe that?
They post it on the news and all over social media. Like, it's this Baltimore Murder Inc. page, and like it's a lot of killing. It's a page on Instagram. It's called Baltimore Murder Inc. And they post all of this homicide stuff, and it's mostly black people. And on the news, you see that black people kill black people, and you don't really see whites kill whites.
It's not just the black race. Actually, all the races are equal to the amount of kills a month and a year and a week.
speaking of the news, they say, like, they call us blacks predators, and, like, we're really not that. Like you said, lots of races do other crimes like us, but they make us seem like we're really bad people, but we're really not.
I feel as though there's no type of race because we all came from the same place, and that we all were made the same. Just because we have different color, that don't mean we're all different and we're all harmful. I feel as though that since we all came from the same place and there were different colors, that we should just all come together and be one.
So, like, say if somebody, like, keeps calling someone dumb and stuff, like, eventually they're going to believe that they're dumb. And so, like, it kind of connects to what, like, the black people are like, predators and stuff. So, like, if you keep saying that, like, we're mean, we're predators, like, we're angry, we're vicious, we're bloodthirsty, like, it's going to, like, start sticking in our brains and stuff.
I worked at a school, not in Baltimore, so let's put that out there so nobody's trying to say, what school is she talking about? And I had to make sure that every month my students read 10 books by themselves, 10 novels by themselves. This was true. And at the end of the month, my administrators sat me down and they said, we're looking at your data. Your girls seem to be reading, but your boys are not reading. Your boys haven't even finished more than one book. So I said, well, here's the survey from my boys that I had them do as a reflection. They honestly feel like these books are boring. So I went on Facebook, and I asked all my peers to give me some books for boys of color. I came back to my administration with 31 books on that list. My administration crossed out 21 of those books, said we will not let them read these books because they are too hard. That was the response. And no one in my school is allowed to read, quote, this is what I'm quoting, no one in my school will be allowed to read these books because they are too hard. So you are unfit. This is what they were telling me. My boys are unfit. They are not capable of reading something that is below what a state test says that they can or cannot do. Does that make sense?
Yo, African Americans can do as many things as any other race can do. So saying that is like saying, what? Because, like, I'm sitting up here right now, like, I'm an amazing student, and so are these people, like, and that doesn't mean because we're black we're doing it, because we're people. We are able to express ourselves. It's not because of our race. It's not because we're Mexican, Caucasian, any other thing. It's because we're people.
He is a 2 times New York Times bestseller. He is the editor-at-large at Salon. But the biggest thing that he is an inspiration to the kids. He does so many youth visits from the jails to our classrooms. Didn't he come to our classroom, y'all? Yes. He helped them with the books that are on sale tonight. He made sure that they had what they need no matter how many times we had to hit him up. This is a real celebrity, and he does not care what time you call him. I will send him pictures of the lesson plan, like, should I add this to this writing piece? Should I add that? And he makes sure they get it done. So we are so glad to have him here tonight. We are now going to go into our second segment, which is Don't Save Us. Y'all ready? What is your definition of a hero?
You know, I think one thing I want to say is that all heroes don't wear capes. There's a lot of heroes in this room. I think these students are heroes, so can we clap it up for them one time? You know, we all have to figure out what can we do as individuals to help the group. Because it's not, no one person, like back in the 60s and all that, you know, we had people like Martin Luther King, and you know what happens when you put all of your heroes and all of your hopes and dreams into one person, right? You kill that person and the dream dies. You know, so again, it's up to everybody to identify what they're passionate about, work really, 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 really hard to achieve some type of mastery, whatever that is, and then to share those skills with other people. Like I said, again, my thing is books and reading. I donate books to schools. I work with people that help me donate books to schools. I go to those schools. I work with kids. They fall in love with reading. They fall in love with writing. They tell their own stories. We have fun. We stay in contact, and brand new artists are made. That's what I've been successful doing, and it works for me. But there's other people that do other great things too. So the answer is not in just one person. It's in all of us. Everybody in this room has the potential to be great beyond any measure, but it's up to you, you know, if you're gonna do it or not.
It's like someone that takes responsibility for what they done, and like they show like they persevere through like challenging times, and like they use their smarts to get through, you know, challenges that they have in their life.
That we could all be heroes in our own ways. We have to show it, improve it, and let other people hear about it.
I feel like a hero is a person who shows leadership and wants to go above and beyond of what their people think they're capable of, and leads others to the right path.
And a hero to me shows me that it's that it's okay to fail to succeed. Also, a hero to me shows me that it influences me to do better, and it just shows me the right path.
I believe that if everybody does what they're supposed to do, it wouldn't be homicides and like a lot of stuff going on in Baltimore.
You know I'm going to ask you, who is the everybody that you are speaking about, and what are they supposed to do?
Can you repeat that again?
Uh-huh. You said we don't need a hero because if everybody does what they're supposed to do, we won't see as much crime and poverty. Who is the everybody, and what are they supposed to do?
Everybody, like the government, ourselves.
Oh, the government, okay. What are they supposed to do?
They're supposed to, like, I can't explain it.
You got help? Like, you got some hands that's ready to help you.
In Miss Clay class was talking about how there was more liquor stores in Baltimore than it was in rec centers for children to play like basketball or play on playgrounds and different things like that.
The government like sends money to the jails and not helping schools or houses, abandoned houses, and why giving money to jails because of the homicides in Baltimore, because they're arresting more black people or others or other races instead of helping us getting better education or building more houses for people, other people to live in.
Valencia Clay hopes to take the educational show on a national tour across the United States to creatively engage parents and children about critical issues that directly affect their lives. For the Real News Network, this is Eddie Conway.